Good day to everyone. We are the group 3 and my name is Bianca Gonzales. I am the first speaker and we are here today to raise awareness and to discuss the anthropogenic effects on the nitrogen and sulfur cycle in regards to plants, or in other words, flora. So to begin, next slide please. I will first be giving a brief introduction about the nitrogen and the sulfur cycle. The nitrogen cycle is a biogeochemical cycle in which nitrogen, a very important element in our planet, gets transformed into various chemical forms as it goes around, or circulates rather, among the atmosphere and the ecosystems. It is an element that our body needs in order to make proteins, amino acids, and more. It is also an element needed to make chlorophyll to undergo photosynthesis in the case of flora. The sulfur cycle, on the other hand, is closely similar to the nitrogen cycle, as it is also a biogeochemical cycle that undergoes through various forms in nature, such as rocks, waterways, and all living matter or system. It is also a very essential element that we need, seeing as how it is a component of certain proteins and amino acids. So basically, plants absorb sulfur in the water, which is then transformed into proteins and enzymes they need to sustain themselves. However, because of anthropogenic activities, also known as human activities, there have been certain changes in a number of biogeochemical cycles that throws nature out of the balance, producing more or less than they should. So with all that being said, I will be giving the floor now to the next speaker.
So for our first cycle, it would be the sulfur cycle, and I would be discussing the anthropogenic effects found inside it. Human activities have played a major role in altering the balance of the global sulfur cycle. The burning of large quantities of fossil fuels, especially from coal, releases larger amounts of hydrogen sulfide gas into the atmosphere. As rain falls through this gas, it creates the phenomenon known as acid rain. Acid rain is a corrosive rain caused by rainwater falling to the ground through sulfur dioxide gas, turning it into weak sulfuric acid, which causes damage to aquatic ecosystems. Acid rain damages the natural environment by lowering the pH of lakes, which kills many of the resident fauna and flora. It also affects the man-made environment through the chemical degradation of buildings. If its concentration is large enough, the SO2 or sulfur dioxide can cause toxicity to plants, which may be killed, resulting in severe ecological damages. Next speaker.
So we go now to nitrogen cycle. So the problem mainly revolves around burning fossil fuels, application of nitrogen-based fertilizers, and other activities can dramatically increase the amount of biologically available nitrogen in an ecosystem. Activities like this can limit the primary productivity of many ecosystems. Large changes in the availability of nitrogen can lead to severe alterations of the nitrogen cycle in both aquatic and terrestrial ecosystems. So in terrestrial ecosystem, the addition of nitrogen can lead to nutrient imbalance increase, changes in forest health, and declines in biodiversity. With increased nitrogen availability, there's often a change in carbon storage, thus impacting more processes than just the nitrogen cycle. In aquatic ecosystem, with increased nitrogen can often lead to no oxygen or low oxygen, altered biodiversity, changes in food web structure, and general habitat degradation. So next speaker.
Now, what are invasive species? Invasive species are any kind of living organism that causes harm to an ecosystem. They are non-native and are often spread unintentionally. The risks of these invasive species are their widespread reproduction and can harm species native to the said ecosystem. Human activity has become one of the leading causes of the spread of invasive species through various ecosystems. Throughout history, humans have traveled far and wide, bringing with them traces of their past journey to their current residence. Today, human activities have caused damage to various ecosystems just for them to survive. Industrial and agricultural activities, as well as the burning of fossil fuels, are proven to cause harm to the Earth's ecosystems. These activities alter and disturb the nitrogen and sulfur cycle. If these cycles are producing more than what the flora expected, it can harm the growth of these plants. It will create a butterfly effect, which will affect the insects, animals, to the humans itself. Next presenter, please.
So, what are epigenetics? So, epigenetics play a role in interactions between chemicals and exposed species, between species and abiotic ecosystem components, or between species of the same or another population or community. So, the meaning of epigenetics is simply the change of genetics because of behavior or the environment. So, how is this related to the ecosystem? So, epigenetic changes in plants, insects, or any other animals have been reported to be induced by various environmental stress factors, including nutrition or water deficiency, grazing, light or temperature alterations, social environment, and dissolved organic matter concentrations. So, regarding to chemicals, there are studies in rats and mice that are exposed to specific pesticides, hydrocarbons, dioxins, and disruptive chemicals demonstrated the induction of epigenetic changes. So, this suggests that there's a need for further research with these substances in an ecotoxicological context. In regards to fish and plants, exposure to hydrocarbons, metals, and soluble fractions of solid waste affected the epigenetic status. So, this is kind of a novel concept in ecotoxicological epigenetics that the induction of transgenerational stress resistance upon chemical exposure is demonstrated in various ways in the ecosystem. That's all.